So I'll start with welcoming you to our webinar series and thank you for joining me. I'm Paula Bartholomew. It's always my pleasure to be the moderator for these webinars, and we'll be saving time at the end of this presentation for your questions. So at any point, just add your comments or your questions to the webinar panel, and I'll pose them for each of you at the end of the presentation. And keep your eyes on the chat box too, because Alex is always posting details there, so you don't need to write everything down that you hear. So today, Hawthorn University welcomes Karin Rozell to present Small Practice, Big Results, 5 Essential Shifts to Create a Great Full-Time Income in about 24 hours per week. And Karin says you really don't need a big, super busy business in order to have it all as a holistic practitioner, especially if you have a family. And by all means, she's talking about how to make great money, do great work, and have the time to live the way that you want. Karin's going to be sharing examples from her own happy little practice that does what it's supposed to, make a difference, make a great income, and make Karin, her family, and her clients happy. So during this webinar, Karin's going to cover how to structure your practice to give you the time, the satisfaction, and the income you want. And she'll be covering the 5 essential areas of your business that you'll need to focus on in order to make a small practice really work. And as a bonus, Karin's going to be including a copy of her book, Rock Stars of Wellness, Super Simple Ways to Stand Out, Get Hired, and Become Irresistibly Relevant to Your Tribe. She's going to offer this to everyone in attendance today. So bravo and thank you for that, Karin. It's a big bonus for everybody. So just a little bit of... Yes, Karin, sorry not to cut you off there.
No, go ahead.
No, just a little bit more. I just want to let everybody know that Karin Rozell's been a straight-talking, sometimes funny, I think funny a lot, a marketing mentor to practitioners, to coaches, and consultants from all over the world. She's been doing this for 17 years. She lives in the middle of nowhere in beautiful upstate New York and has 2 kids, a husband, and furry friends. She's authored 2 books, Rock Stars of Wellness, and right now, and is most recently the creator of Happy Little Practice Method for moms with a service-based business. So you can get to know Karin a little bit more, as well as her Small is the New Big approach at her website, karinrozell.com. All right, Karin, that brings you to the stage. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm ready to go.
All right, I'm ready for you too. Yes, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to silence myself until questions come, unless you need me.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, so small practice, big results. I just want to say there's going to be like 2 themes of this conversation that we'll begin having here, which is part mindset and then part actually full-on action steps that you can begin taking. And it's going to be quite practical in that way. So let's get going, and we'll start with a little bit of the mindset and how it got here. That's me. I live in the middle of nowhere, as she said, and I do my webinars on top of hay bales, as you can see. I'm kidding, but you'll learn a little bit more about me and how I got to this kind of small is the new big way of doing business. Now, this is for you if you are making a living selling what you know, if you are a life coach, a health coach, or some kind of a practitioner. If you're a parent, now I say women because most of my clients are women, but please know, gentlemen, you're welcome here. If you're brave enough to take the leap into creating your own business, you have something powerful to offer, but maybe this has not yet translated into the money or freedom and happiness you've imagined. You're most welcome here. And if you're also a parent, and perhaps maybe you want to be someday, who wants to contribute financially to your family, and I would dare say you perhaps must have to, but you want to do so in less than full-time hours, okay, I got you covered. And if you're ready to get focused and make some changes in your practice because it's time for whatever reason, just know that this is a good place for you to do. So here's the good news. What I promised to cover in our time together here is that, first of all, I'm going to lay out the 1 mindset shift, the idea of going small, and that how small, when done right, is really, truly big enough. How that will allow you to have it all as a parent, husband, wife, business owner. And what I mean by having it all is simply making great money, and you get to define what that is. Contribute to your family, be happy, and do it all in about 25 hours a week, okay? And I'm going to start with also showing you what I mean by little and why little is the key to producing the kind of big results you're maybe wanting to create with half the effort, if I can dare say that. I want to show you how to make the power of little work for you, right? And I want to show you the fine mindset shifts, but they're also quite practical how-to things of what makes a happy little practice method or approach to having a business work, okay? Specifically around your message, your services, your pricing, who you work with, even your marketing. But before we get there, I really got to kind of start with the big picture. The big picture of little and the what and why of it. When I say little, what I really mean is little is about focus. And when you're focused, you have a sense of clarity. You feel clear, right? You're clear about what you do, when you do it, who you do it for. You're clear about Monday mornings and what to do when you sit at your desk. I remember when I'm not clear, that feels kind of awful. Here's the thing. A good chunk of coaches, practitioners, quote unquote, fail. And I mean, give up on their practice because they're not focused and clear. Not because they're not putting enough effort in. And there are three things you got to get clear. They're absolutely non-negotiable. Your message, your offer, and your audience. Okay, and by your message, I simply mean the major life or health problem that you solve, that you specialize in solving. Your offer, I simply mean, hey, how you solve that with your services. And your audience, I simply mean who you solve it for. Like I said, these are non-negotiables. Let's talk about the why. How focused do you feel in your practice right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Whether you're starting out, thinking about starting your practice, or you've been at it for a few years. If you don't have the money or the time, really is like a sense of true wealth to me, having the time, or the satisfaction is due to lack of focus. And what is at the root of lack of focus? In my opinion, it is a cultural thing. It's chasing big, that go big or go home thing. I think that's the root of cause of lack of focus for people like you and I, practitioners, coaches, experts, right? So what does chasing big look like? Well, I want to be on stage and speak in front of hundreds, maybe thousands. Or I want to host large workshops and group programs, or I just came back from another conference and I have a new idea or a new direction, or I'm thinking about getting another degree. These are all things I've thought and done, by the way. And I hear them from coaches and practitioners, and they aren't bad thoughts by any means, but they're only a problem when they're rooted in a belief that perhaps you've outgrown or no longer serves you. And here's what I mean. It's rooted in this if-then lie. It's kind of a way of thinking. For example, if I get more Facebook likes or Instagram followers, then fill in the blank. Success, clients, money, happiness will surely follow, right? Or if I write that bestseller that's inside me, then the clients will come. Or if I just get discovered or promoted by the right people, then you get the idea. Or if I get enough credentials or prove that I know enough, then I can succeed. Or it could be the thought that it's about having like a big enough email list, or getting known, or maybe even looking the part, or attending the right conferences, or connecting with the right people, the right website, learning the latest marketing strategy. The fundamental thing around this is that we tell ourselves is, if I do blank, this thing, then things will work in my practice. On paper, it sounds right. It's in theory correct, but it doesn't really work out that way. And here's why chasing big does not work. We get high on these big ideas, right? With no time or plan for implementation. Or we're focused on running before standing and walking, right? There's a natural evolution through the business cycles, right? There's you got to learn to stand, and you got to walk, then you got to jog, and so on. But the bottom line is that even if you want to go big, and there's nothing wrong with that, it all starts with that foundation of a happy little practice. Nobody starts on the big stage. They all start small. I have this saying that if you want a happy big practice, you must first master having a happy little practice. That's the foundation that holds it up. So how do I know this? Well, that was me. I chase big just like everyone does. At least I certainly did. And let me tell you how I started my career so I can explain why I decided to change the structure and direction of my practice to go small. So I started at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. You may have heard of it. I started as a health coach back in 1999. And I gave talks. I did lunch and learns. I joined networking groups. I spoke in grocery stores. I handed out flyers in front of theaters. I did all kinds of marketing. I even went into debt trying to keep my business alive because I didn't know any better. Eventually I figured it out. Okay, I learned a lot about what works and what doesn't in the coaching and life transformation fields. Good. Eventually I was recruited by the school and, kind of offered this 6-figure promise. Essentially, working quite a lot while changing lives for a living. But behind the scenes of that life was I was working so darn hard, 80 hours a week quite often, my own life suffering in the background, constantly striving, constantly chasing that promise of, it's just around the corner of this kind of marathon that I was running, this big career or big success, whatever it was. But I was helping other people, so it felt that was okay. That's what counts, right? Anyways, I eventually became their education director for a short time. I started their marketing curriculum there. You can still hear my stuff in their really good courses. But I left exhausted. And you would have thought that would have stopped me. Exhaustion? No. No, I went on and became an award-winning integrative nutrition all-star for the contributions I was doing on my work. Okay, that's what I did. That's what I thought you did. And here's what it looked like for me. I got very busy jet-setting to conferences, trying to keep up with learning enough, feeling like I know enough. I certainly studied with a lot of wonderful mentors, and really bought in hook, line, and sinker and go big or go home. And because isn't that what we learn in America? Like extreme success is the only thing we usually see in the media. And to deal with my sense of doubt, my fears that I didn't really know enough, I was making up a career. There was no set path for this, right? I signed up for lots of continuing education. Constantly, I became an expert in quite a few different modalities, different areas of expertise. I even studied with some wonderful mentors. Here, perhaps you recognize some, but underneath this constant striving, this drive was my own if-then lie. If I learn enough and get mentored enough, and maybe I'll be able to do what they're doing, because those were the visions of success. Maybe they'll teach me their secrets and I'll have a great life and great money like they do. But they were doing what works for them, right? And teaching what works for them. And it never occurred to me that there might be more than one path. I just thought this is what you do. Go big, go home. That was me chasing big. And while I'm proud of what I learned from these wonderful, wonderful, smart people, at some point it didn't work anymore. And, I did make it. I created my 6-figure practice. But the secret underneath that is that it never felt like enough. As soon as I achieved one goal, there was another one. You just the model was, okay, once you achieve this goal, then you get more people at your events, and then you get more people, and then you hire people to coach your clients, and you get further and further away from your clients. But here's what stopped it. Dun, dun, dun. My butt in the oven. I started a family, and no, did this stop me from chasing big? No. In fact, I'll never forget. It was about 6.5 years ago, pregnant like that in the picture. I'm on the phone, one of several selected to be one of the coaches, with one of my mentors, and we're all creating our own little mini empires here. And my mentor very kindly tries to interrupt me saying, Karin, you're pregnant. How are you going to continue doing this? And of course, I could only take it the wrong way because I was full of hormones. And her intention was good because the pace I was at was quite crushing. I felt embarrassed, like outed out, like essentially kicked out of the conferences, because truth be told, I would not be able to continue traveling like all over the place and going to all these conferences. In fact, being pregnant had me leave quite a few commitments that were just felt unsustainable and I didn't want to do anymore. I wanted to be there and home in my body and taking care of myself. And I wish that I stopped then, but no. Thinking big is so darn seductive. I mean, the celebrity model is all you see, right? Think about it, even in our field, the holistic health field, personal development. For example, one of my favorites is Deepak, right? Deepak Chopra. What does he do? He's on PBS. He's got this center in California. He's paid to speak on the big stage. It's so seductive. It's hard to stop when you're only shown one model. And then, of course, there's this whole thing called FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. It's almost like a diagnosis now people talk about. You know, when you look around, even on social media or just even at colleagues, or I hear this all the time, no one's telling you to go small. No one's telling you to dream small. Enjoy a quiet, anonymous, successful, happy life where no one really knows who you are except a few people. You know, we all chase some version of this at some time in our lives. I've seen it, and as you can tell in my own life, be it celebrity, money, credentials, or maybe some other version of success, the next inspiration high, instead of just really focusing on implementing what works for us. So it's quite natural to unconsciously try to replicate what you see and compare yourself to others. And ultimately, it didn't work for me. That's me on, quote unquote, the big stage. I made it here, right? The Lincoln Center in New York City. It's not a great picture, but there was a couple thousand people in the audience and a couple more thousand on the live stream. And by then I had 2 babies, and I brought my mom to help me, take care of that baby while I was on the stage. And it wasn't my stage. I was sharing it with other colleagues, but it wasn't sustainable for me for a few reasons. And I want to shine a light on this because it's quite common that I hear my clients who are, whether they're starting out or have been in business or private practice for some time, thinking that this is the end point, but they don't really know what that's like, how quite a hustle that is to get there and maintain it. So the big stage didn't work for me for a couple things. It didn't really match my quiet family-based lifestyle that I really felt made me happy. Despite what I thought success meant, what made me happy actually was something quite quieter and simpler. I didn't really want to leave my baby behind. I didn't have an au pair, and I didn't want an au pair, and I didn't want a full-time nanny. I didn't want to travel that much anymore. I didn't want to jet set anymore. And the other reason is I didn't have one problem I was known for solving. This was really me busting myself. So this, I bet you can relate. When I was on that stage, there was at least a handful of other colleagues of mine, also in marketing, talking to the same audience, that we all have a same audience as clients. And whatever I shared, I thought it was good. It just blended in. Because at that point, the marketplace became saturated with a gazillion business coaches, talking to health coaches, life coaches, practitioners. And years before, I was one of the few, right? I could afford being generic because not many people were talking about marketing for people in the holistic health and life transformation field. Things are different now. You and I can no longer get away with being generic because it just doesn't work. You kind of can't hear yourself. Other people can't hear you either. Fundamentally, it came down to this. The irony of all this is that despite having worked and hustled to get on that stage, turns out that my life wasn't really designed for big after all. And this was really quite upsetting for me, to my ego, I'm sure, because I only knew one model. And I was so blind to what I was doing, I didn't know that there was another way. But here's what I want to introduce to you now. That small can get you all the things that you think only big can get you. You can live where you want. You can do what you want. You can work when you want. And this is a snapshot of my life. See those funky little red clogs? I mean, those I wear most of the time because I live in the country. And I'm not saying that the country is the place to live. And that's me and my husband. We both have our own little businesses. I'm not saying you should be married, and I'm not saying this is everybody's version of success, but I'm sharing this is what makes me happy, And so I decided to find a way to make small allow me to experience what I want, instead of thinking I could only have that if I went big and made $1 million or whatever. Because for sure, you need to know this about me, I am not the most famous in my field. I don't have the biggest email list. I technically don't work full time. I have a life in a business that I really like, and I've never been on Oprah. But isn't this what it's all about? Having a life that you really like, that feels peaceful and plentiful to you? It doesn't require chasing big, and it doesn't require being crazy busy to have this. And I'm very excited to begin to let you know how I structure things, you know? And when I say I don't have the biggest anything, I don't have a big house. This is our house. Like I said, happy for me means living in the country. I'm not saying you should move to the country. Don't get me wrong. But you do have to define what makes you happy in your business as the foundation for how you will structure and think about how you will do your practice. And again, by happy, I simply mean your work is enjoyable. It's simple to deliver. It makes the kind of money you need it to make, and it makes an impact in the way that you want it to make. And it makes you feel rich in all the right ways. This is what makes me feel rich. You know, Paula and I were just talking. We both live in the rural countryside. Love it. It's not for everyone. The never-ending beauty makes me feel rich, and I want to have time to enjoy that. And I have to say that my business got better with kids. This is my goofball family. I call them monkeys. What I mean by my business got better with kids is that, okay, yeah, I'm definitely more tired because they wake me up all the time, but there's nothing like having a family life to force you to focus on what's most important to you and what truly makes you feel wealthy in all the right ways, and it usually isn't trying to be busier. Having children gave me the courage to say, you know what, I've got to find a way to make this work in a way that works for my real life, not my fantasy life in my head. And it gave me the courage to focus and implement what I really wanted to do in my business, but somehow thought it wasn't the right way to do it. It wasn't the way that my mentors were doing it. So I focused and I took the time to think things through, what was success really meant for me. And I even asked myself, like, what's the money for? What the heck is the money for? Beyond the basics, right? For us, it wasn't really about living the lifestyles of the rich and famous, right? Sometimes I look on Facebook and it's like people show coaching as in like living on a yacht. And I'm like, what? I got a canoe. Side note. This is a picture of my son planting beans, and we send him to a little private school. It's a nature school. It's a holistic little school. And, you know, we afford to do that, and that's important to us. On top of paying for school taxes, right? And driving 30 minutes each way to go there, and renting a little tiny office in town so we don't have to make the drive a million times. To us, as our family, it's about this. Being able to have choice around how we use our money, what it's for. And it's also about this. We live in the foothills of the Adirondacks. I paid for this first vacation that we took, you know, on Paradox Lake in the Adirondacks. And it was a game changer for me to be able to start to see what was really important for me and why I was doing what I was doing. Beyond, of course, helping other people. That's a given. Now it's time for us to get into the nitty-gritty stuff. I'm going to talk about the 5 specific shifts to make a little practice work. And by work, I mean create the kind of results you want, the big results. I want to talk to you about how going small can be the key to creating the money, time, and satisfaction that you want. It doesn't require going big, and how this will make you, your spouse, kids, and clients happier. I always have this thought that, you know, you could be so happy working for somebody else. If you're going to take the effort to do it for yourself, you might as well go for happy. That said, this is probably not the best webinar for. If you're still sold on the celebrity model of success and you need to be a star, God bless you, but I don't know how to teach you that. I also want to make sure that if you're resistant to focusing and slow to make new decisions in your business and life, you're probably not going to like this as much. It's not a good idea to start a business if you're resistant to focusing. I'll say that. Also, if you don't believe deep down that you could ever have clients paying you $3,000 or more, if you don't know how, that's fine. That's totally normal. Can you at least imagine it? Then you can start to see how this stuff is going to come together for you. And I'll explain how. And of course, like Paula said, I'm going to give you a copy of this book at the end. I'll show you where you can download that, okay? So hang on for that. But I do promise you that it's all going to be helpful information. There's nothing for sale on this webinar. And, just give yourself time to focus, to actually take in some new information about a variety of things: money, marketing, your message, and more, okay? Because the 3 things I really want for you, I hope that you take away. I want you to know in your bones that happy isn't optional. I cannot tell you how often I talk to people who are making a great difference in the world with their work and are suffering quietly behind the scenes. So happy is a must. Second, I want you to know that a little practice can still make a big impact. Yeah? It's unleashing yourself, liberating yourself from thinking you have to overachieve to make a big impact. That's a takeaway number 2 I hope you get. And finally, I want you to realize that getting where you want to go is less about doing more and about focusing. And when I say focus, I don't mean this like severe focus level. I mean like soft, sustainable focus. So let's get going. I'm going to talk about the 5 big to little shifts that you're going to want to consider making if you want to have a small practice that creates big results. And let's start with the first one, okay? From chasing big to going boutique. So when I talk boutique, I simply mean a profitable boutique business model. Okay, so let's talk about what this is. There's a couple key distinctions. This is about having fewer high-paying clients versus many low-paying clients. It's a distinction between high volume of clients at a low cost. That's the only way that works. Low cost at a high volume, right? And versus a small number of clients, but at a premium price, okay? And it's a strategic choice to focus on trying to get away from trying to get as many clients as possible to really focusing on quality. And by keeping the numbers small, the numbers of your clients, that is, it allows you to do a really exceptional job at something that you choose to specialize in and something that people will seek you out for. It's also about solving one problem versus doing a bit of everything. Trying to be all things to everyone and actually choosing to become a specialist. When you specialize in solving one major life problem, people will seek you out. We'll pay more for that. I'll even explain how I do that too. This is also about choosing to focus on creating a life for your family versus chasing a big lifestyle. Especially in the kind of entrepreneurship circles, there's a lot of kind of, even outside of the field of holistic health, life, personal improvement, the entrepreneurship people tend to really suffer. Like, it attracts a kind of a group of people that can handle like a high risk situation. But this helps you be mindful on how your practice is affecting your quality of life right now, right? We want you to have the life that you want, not someday, maybe later when you make a certain income. And it's also about becoming a consistent contributor versus a dreamer. That shifts your priority from, listen, a lot of things are about inspiration and feeling good, and that's all well and good, but when you have to contribute to your family financially, that forces you to kind of grow up around this and start to discern what are the things that you're going to implement and what are the things that you're not just going to chase things just because it's fun and inspiring. And it's also about choosing to go for a quieter business versus seeking fame. Not everyone's seeking fame, but we have funny ways of chasing bigs and everyone in different ways. What this does is shifts the priority from thinking you need to be doing what everybody else is doing or being overly concerned with the latest marketing thing to doing just what works for you. And what that gives you is, it kind of frees you. It frees you to I liken it to feeling a little bit like the eye of the storm. Everybody's kind of running around trying to be super busy, and you just kind of like, this is what I'm doing, and this is what works for me. So why does this work? Remember why you started a private practice. Yes, you wanted to do great, meaningful work, but you wanted to have a better life for yourself, you know? And again, this is about essentially liberating yourself from thinking that you have to overachieve. This is a common cultural conditioning that we have in American culture in order to make a profound impact. I'm going to give you an example. This is one of my past clients. Her name is Dr. Jessica Davis. She's a medical doctor. She has a direct care practice. That means she does not accept insurance. People pay her directly. There's an emerging trend of physicians moving out of hospital settings and creating their own little practices. And she came to me after returning from maternity leave from her second child. That's her family right there, her husband, Art. And to tell you a little bit about her, like I said, she's married, has 2 kids. She was saving for their new home. Her and her husband and her family were living with her family, her parents. They had already bought a piece of property that they were saving to build a home. And when I asked her what her big why, like why is she doing this? I was trying to get to the essence of her motivation beyond doing the good work and, you know, being a physician. And she called it her waterfall dream. On this beautiful piece of property, they have a waterfall. No joke, this is it right here. It's a little blurry here, but there's a waterfall in the backyard of her house. It's beautiful. So the first step that to becoming a profitable boutique, to make the first shift, really implement it in your own practice, is you have to focus your message. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So when I say little, right, like we're borrowing the boutique business model, less clients at a premium price, right? And then when I say premium, try not to get triggered by that. Okay, if you do. You don't have to be the most expensive game in town, right? But you have to be above average, because the below average is really undercharging. Little means solving one problem, and that's how you stand out in a crowded marketplace. Little is also about making a big impact with one tribe, one target market, one audience, whatever you want to call it. Being known, like being like a big fish in a little pond, that kind of thing. And here's a little bit of the mindset. I call it like ninja mindset. If you see yourself a bit like an artist, even if your stuff is so technical, if you begin to understand that your art, like any successful artist, isn't for everyone, right? Art is in the eye of the beholder, right? In fact, you want to go for people who appreciate and value and seek out your art, your work. And that's part of becoming a profitable boutique business. These things have to be in place. So let's continue with Dr. Jess as an example. So how did she do this? Okay, so she was a general family medicine practitioner, but she was also an acupuncturist, and she also did other kinds of consultations. And she was taking care of a variety of types of families in her practice as it was when we met. She already had a small number of patients, but we had to turn that into a profitable venture because she had to contribute to this family home that she wanted to create. And there were quite a few other holistic doctors in her community that she needed to distinguish herself from. And how was she going to do that? So we did some coaching, and we figured out that there were 2 things that really stood out. Her favorite clients, the ones that lit her up, that she would joyfully bend over backwards to work with, were new moms and their babies. And they were also, coincidentally, the clients, the patients that received the best results from her and most appreciated her style of medicine and her style of practice. And so we integrated that and chose to go focus on new moms. Now, this is integral, right? When you think about moms as a category, a lot of times people come to me, I want to work with moms. What kind of moms? Moms in business? For her, when you think about who are the moms that are actively seeking out a new practitioner, a new family doctor, pediatrician, it's moms with a new baby. So she became the new mom's family doctor. That's how we positioned her, right? And full disclosure, she is now our family doctor. So I know her business, she knows my business. So that's what we did. We focused on new moms. And that was the beginning of focusing her message to make her boutique business model really work for her. So the essence of shift number one is, in order to do little the right way, you have to focus and choose to go boutique. And how you do that is, begin, step one is to focus your message, okay? This allows you to enjoy life while you achieve. This allows you to design around your very real offline life, because it's modeled around small, but that makes the numbers work, and we'll talk numbers a little bit later. And it's also very strategic. But here's the thing, there's a challenge here. We're grown-ups here. Are you ready to stop chasing after all of your ideas and to choose to focus on one of them? And most coaches, practitioners, experts will not want to do this because it requires a sense of maturity. Stephen King, that amazing author, once wrote this book called On Writing, a little side note. And one of the things I never forgot from that book was, when you're writing a novel, you're focusing. And at first, it feels like you're killing your darlings. And it feels a little bit like that at first. You have all these great ideas of all the things you could do in your practice, and you have to pick one. And that's the first challenge that requires a bit of maturity. And there's always a way to integrate quite a few of your things under one message. Let's keep going, and you'll see how each shift kind of builds on each other, okay? So, big to little shift number two, from trying to help to going for happy. Okay, so what is trying to help? It is suffering with a smile while changing lives for a living. You heard it firsthand from how I was doing. It's quite common in our field, I'm afraid to say. And it shows up like this. It's like seeing clients on weekends when you don't really want to, or accepting late payments and not saying a thing about it, or rescheduling to accommodate clients even though you don't really want to, or somebody cancels at the last minute and therefore you lose that income. You actually take the hit. Basically, it's the belief that as long as your clients get what they want, then you'll somehow succeed. But this actually really weighs down your practice. Here are some distinctions around that. It's about moving from being they-focused, or overly they-focused, I should say, to you-focused. They-focused is, again, you do everything for your clients and accommodate them and work when they want you to see you. And the thinking is that you'll succeed if you take care of them. Like, if I take care of everyone and everything, eventually I will be taken care of. That's kind of the belief around there. But what actually happens is you burn out. And you're not attracted to your work because it's draining. Okay? And believe me, there's nothing here that I haven't done. It's also about making that shift from convincing people that your work is valuable to actually setting up your practice so that people apply to work with you who already see your work as valuable. When you're convincing, you're limiting your energy, your capacity to make money, your focus. It's actually quite depleting. But yeah, when people apply to work with you, it sets the tone that you're professional. It ensures that you use your time wisely, that it shifts the focus from being a servant to your clients. Listen, there is a lot of talk in our community about being of service. But I find a lot of coaches and practitioners, we like tip over into this martyr thing. And instead, I really would like you to consider yourself a well-paid artist who's being sought out for the good work that you do, right? Another aspect of this is from taking anyone who has a pulse, certainly done that myself, to cherry picking your clients. This is the only way to make sure everyone is happy in your practice, including yourself, because it ensures you can actually create the results that you promise by having some standards in place, like doctors, and they have standards of care about what they need in order to do their work. We must have the same thing, even if you're not operating on people, right? And then there's one more distinction. Letting go of always accommodating to setting up your practice for when you work best, how you work best, be it your hours to how you deliver your services, so that you can really deliver a stellar boutique business experience, a one-of-a-kind superior service that's worthy of a premium price, right? And you can only do that when you're doing your best and you're set up to feeling your best, right? Trying to help does not work. Well, you never do your best work, right? Because you're always drained. It forces you to put your needs and wants last, or on the back burner, or never getting to them, hoping that one day you'll get to them. And it attracts low commitment clients. And you know what I'm talking about here. They're the people that show up, say they want to be there, and yet actually don't do the work. Okay? So this is how Dr. Jess made this shift. Sure enough, she did have some fears of leaving people out and turning others away. Making this choice to focus on her very favorite clients brought up some feelings, some feels. Was she being a bad doctor? Like, we had to actually talk through these things. She had an innate desire to help everyone, like most of us here, and yet she was rubbing up against these feelings of like, what, can I really have what I want? Is it okay to do this? I see my colleagues in direct care practice struggling. Shouldn't I be struggling? Who am I? You know, all this stuff. You know, it's common. A lot of us are plugged into this, you know, struggling artist mentality, and it's all right, but we can evolve past this now. It doesn't have to be that way. And so what we did was we focused on adding what she wanted, rather, before we took away anything, before we made any drastic measures. Well, left everything alone, and we added the new mom's focus and exactly all the pieces that needed to go with that. And instead of turning away clients, I asked her to, the next client that looks like less than ideal, feel free to take them on. But this time, pay attention. Don't just accept it as status quo. Notice how you feel, notice what you see, and if it's worth it. And she noticed they required more time, more energy, they were more complicated. They took energy from all her, like, patients. They would chronically email her. They wanted her to do things that she didn't want to do. They needed extra time and generally pushed her professional boundaries quite often. They were nice people. She cared for them, but generally they were a pain in the bum. And it resulted in a lot of depletion. And in fact, it pushed her to her edge. Like, she wondered, should I even stay in practice? Should I just go return and go be in a hospital setting? Boundaries are taken care of for her there. That's what happens when you have less than ideal clients in your practice. You think it's something with you or that you're not cut out for it, but it's really not you. It's the structure of your work. And so this is how she lived into this decision. This is what we did. We made that decision about what she wanted to have in her practice. We started adding those things into her practice, and it started to crowd out all the other things that were no longer working for her. And so here's how she went for happy, right? So she decided on a specific population that she most enjoyed, working with new moms. She did let go of some clients who are no longer fit eventually. It was just a natural evolution, which means she did get a refund, right? And referred people out to other practitioners that would happily accept those clients, right? And eventually it's just not even an issue anymore. She only works with new moms and their babies and their immediate family. Once she started paying attention to all this, it only took one client for her to see what was happening. And so happy is a valid business strategy, really. You know, I'm not talking like, you know, rainbows and unicorn happy where we're happy every single second of the day. No. Like I said before, if you're going to go through the trouble, risk, challenge, investment, certainly the personal development and energy required to succeed in your own little business, you might as well go for being happy. Otherwise, you know, otherwise you have a job, right? So this is the essence of shift number 2. Going for happy is about including your needs and desires into your practice. Your clients, patients are already included. I'm just asking you to consider to rebalance this and make sure that you're on that list as well, okay? Otherwise, it's not sustainable. So, of course, there's a challenge around this. Are you ready to decide to put your needs and desires first, right? You're going to feel a lot like Dr. Jess did, and that's okay. You breathe, you stay with it. You get support, you get coaching around it, you keep moving forward, right? Feeling a lot becomes your new normal. It's something I talk with clients all the time. When you really engage in your practice, I have this kind of, you know, joke. I say, it's not a joke, but it's the truth. You don't need to go to an ashram in India for personal development. If you take your practice seriously, the money, the whole bit, It's all the personal development you'll need. It's personal development on steroids, and that's why it is a challenge. And that's okay. You just get support and coaching around it. Surround yourself with people that are going for it, and it'll feel normal, and it'll feel okay. All right, let's go to number 3. From multiple generic offers to one signature offer. Okay, so what do I mean by generic offers? Okay, it's when you're good at a lot of different things and doing a little bit of everything. Maybe you're a therapist, massage therapist. Maybe you're also doing intuitive readings and teaching yoga classes and teaching Reiki classes and so on. If you can mix and match whatever modalities you have in your toolkit there. This is built on the unconscious thing that we all do, this chasing big thing, that if then why again, that if there's something for everyone, then I'll succeed, because that's what we see big businesses do. But what we don't really understand is that the people that have a big company, they have a small army of employees or a team that's implementing all these ideas and delivering all those ideas, or they have a high volume of clients that allows them to charge a low fee. The behind the scenes of chasing big is that you have to have a team to pull off all that stuff, but the boutique practice isn't like that. And that's what the happy little practice thing is based on. It doesn't work for solo practitioners, the big stuff, because we have limited hours, energy, and focus. We want to have a life where we're striving, and most of us are solo practitioners. Okay, so a couple distinctions. This is about going from multiple offers to solving one problem. Be it through, multiple offers, be it through different modalities, to really solving one major life problem and doing so exceptionally well. It's also letting go of casting a wide net and moving to being relevant to only one type of people. I joke around that my family, most of my friends, my mom, my stepdad, and so on, they don't really get what I do. It's not their job to. They don't value what I do. They don't need to, because they're not the people that pay me for my services. That's that level of, I'm only relevant to the people I need to be relevant to. And it's kind of a relief also. Even when I give a presentation, I know I don't have to be relevant to everyone in the room. It's like I don't have to turn everyone into a client. There's no pressure there. There's also a moving away from an emphasis on your modality. Come try my nutrition coaching, or my acupuncture, or my massage. Instead of, the shift is like, come try this if you want to solve XYZ problem. Like that. It's also shifting away from letting go of those low value offers to solving a problem worthy of $3,000. And I'm going to begin to talk about the money here, but I'm going to talk more about it a little bit later. Here's why I put $3,000 out there. Now, I really want you to hear this, because when I tell my clients this, especially those who've been in practice for quite some time, and they sit up in their seat and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is true. The average coach or practitioner that makes a great living is charging about $3,000. And so you have to get there. You can get there over time. You can transition, but that's the average, not extreme high, right? So what do I mean by a signature offer? It solves one specific problem. It's a complete start to finish experience, right? And it integrates all that you do, all the different modalities that you have, and it's unique, like your signature, okay? And here's the thing about generic offers. They don't often work because, well, they're confusing to people, to your clients, to people who might refer your services. It doesn't command a high fee because it's just seen as an hourly thing. And it's surprisingly a hard sell. An hourly session, can be a hard sell when it's not really tied to like solving a very important problem, and can lead to this recipe for self-doubt, thinking that no one really wants what you have, but really, again, it's not that, it's not you, it's the structure and the focus. So here's some examples. Instead of saying I'm a health coach, you could say, hey, I show moms with a business how to get back in shape in 90 days. Or, Instead of, hey, I'm a life coach, you could say something like, I'm making these up, but I help Kiki Silicon Valley guys find and keep their one true love, which is a hot topic, by the way. Or a holistic practitioner, instead of saying that, you could say, I show fertility challenged couples how to conceive their first child naturally. And that's one of my clients actually does that. Here's how Dr. Jeff made this shift. So we designed one program to speak to new moms, okay? We put everything in there that they needed that first year of having a new baby, okay? And we directed all new clients to that program, and we created a couple tiers, one at a premium and one that was at her kind of more comfortable, normal rate, right? And over a period of time, we raised her rates to match her experience, because once she actually saw the solution that she solved, instead of just seeing herself as a technician who offered an hourly fee, she could see the full value of her work, okay? And we updated her marketing materials to back up her message and made it really clear. When you go to her website, this is her website, who does she work with? I wonder. She works with new moms, you know? Of all the things that you need to know, they're right there on her homepage. It's clear what her specialty is. So in the region, she's the only one that does that. So she doesn't sound like everybody else, and it's already going to stand out. So why just one offer? Because it's simple, creates clarity and confidence for you and your clients. You know what you're offering. You know who to market to. You know what you say yes to, what you can say no to, right? And what's the essence of shift number 3, really? You can make a bigger impact with less effort by structuring and focusing your talents into a signature program that solves one problem for one audience, right? The challenge around this is, are you willing to make decisions that may feel temporarily limiting to see that expansiveness that's waiting for you on the other side, right? At first it feels limiting, like you're leaving people out, but it ultimately expands your work because you actually stand out more and you can serve people more deeply. So here's what we've covered so far. Focus shift number 1 was chasing big to choosing to do small the right way to becoming a profitable boutique business, using that business model. Focus shift number 2 was making that shift from trying to help to going for happy. And number 3 was the generic offers to one signature offer. You can have a couple tiers if that helps, for sure, but it has to solve one major life problem. Let's go to shift number 4. From multiple jobs to one job. Now this gets kind of fun. So here's what I mean. A lot of times what I see is multiple promotions. Multiple promotions are like you're always filling a class, a workshop, a training, a variety of things. And there's multiple destinations in your practice. And it feels like a lot of pressure to do that. You're always kind of getting these little scoops of cash instead of like significant payments. And instead having one destination. All promotions, all marketing leads to one thing, and that's having a consultation with you. And that consultation is about deciding to work with you or not in one of your signature programs. It's making that shift from having too many half-baked marketing ideas. Like I said before at the beginning, like too many people are doing too many things, too much. You just need to have one measurable marketing strategy that you can say, I'm going to get good at this. I'm going to figure this one thing out before I try to figure out a bunch of different things. So much easier this way. Okay? So, what do I mean by one strategy? How do you make that work? 3 points to this. You have to be in direct contact. The strategy that you choose must meet these criteria. It puts you in direct contact with ideal clients, your ideal clients that you've chosen. Allows you to be in contact and invite them to book an appointment with you. And then those appointments can be turned, like a portion of those will be turned into clients, if they're the right fit, of course. And when you only have one job, date, you had one job and you have failed. I love these silly little memes that you see out and about. When you have one job, the only thing you have to do is do one marketing thing and then invite people to consultations and then invite those people, if they're a good fit, to work with you. And you can perfect that over time, and you don't you have a chance of really getting that right. Here's how I do this. I'm going to really start breaking down some strategy here. I speak. Webinars is kind of an advanced version of speaking, okay? And how I get people to watch my webinars outside of doing things for schools is I run Facebook ads and I invite people to check out my webinar, okay? And my one job, if they really like it, and I'm being fully transparent, is I invite people to have a free session with me at the end of this experience. And at the end of whoever books in a session, if during that session, it's a good fit, then I'll invite them to work with me into my signature program. And that leads to new clients. And obviously, the people that aren't a fit, they can stay in touch, and that's that. But that's it. That's my job. That's all I do. I master one job. And I nail it, right? And when the marketing doesn't work, I don't change my marketing, or I don't change my message, or I don't change who I'm going for. I fix it. I just fix it, or find the person to help me with it. So the essence of shift number 4 is simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It's like, this is the quote that I always come back to again and again. When you go for simple, you actually create something that feels real, sustainable, allows you to build something that feels systemized and streamlined, and it's energizing. It gives you what you need in terms of income, makes you happy. And what I mean by sophisticated is that it doesn't mean it's easy. I mean, you got to be tired of people telling you how easy it is to have a practice. But somehow in our minds, I hear this a lot, it somehow feels easier to just kind of always be going from that big thing, like chasing one marketing strategy after another, never really going deep on one. And boutiques go deep, right? With our work with our clients, and even in our marketing, it goes deep on one. If you want to scale up later, you can add more. But the challenge around this is that to master one job, you have to really think through your marketing, see it all the way through and test it. That means there's some trial and error, right? And like I said, with trial and error, a lot of times people just switch their strategy. Oh, I gave a talk and it didn't work. I'm going to go do blogging now. No, figure out why your talk didn't work and tweak it, and then try again. Simple but sophisticated. Last one, and this is where I start to pull this all together for you, okay? Little is the new big, and this is how it works. I'm going to do some numbers here too, okay? The marketing and the dollars. So I run Facebook ads, and I'm going to share my example and then talk about how you can do something similar. Run Facebook ads, invite people to my free webinar. Or in this case, go to schools, give them a webinar, and then invite people to a session. Look at that. I'm being transparent right here. Let's say about 200 people opt in per month. I'm being really simple with the numbers for math reasons, because I'm terrible at math. 20 people per month sign up for my free session. 5 people hire me per month, and I charge $3,000 for that, and that's $15,000 per month, day in and day out. One strategy that I perfect. Less is really better when you really can go deep and really go deep and do it well. Now, this isn't magic or hope marketing. It's just math. Okay, so $15,000 per month, $180,000 per year. There's so much talk out there in the online marketing stuff about like 6 figures, 7-figure empires and all that. I don't know. To me, I don't know a health coach or life coach or practitioner who wouldn't be thrilled with just this right here. It's so simple. Again, not easy, but simple. Go here before you try to go big. To get real, I have to subtract my Facebook ads cost, and it costs me about $3-4 per opt-in. So that means I'm paying $800 a month just to keep the math, $600, $800 a month, $9,600 per year. If I subtract that, that comes to about $172,000 and change, right? Now, listen, if this is at all triggering, just know this. We all pay for our clients in one way or another. Whether you're advertising, most businesses pay out money in order to get their great ideas in front of new people, because if you don't have new people coming in every week, into your practice and signing up for your stuff, getting to know you don't have a business. You don't pay out in cash, you pay in time, right? For example, if you're speaking, it doesn't really cost you anything. It doesn't cost me anything to be here with you other than my time, my sweat, my babysitting, organizational skills. It still costs you time and energy. We all pay one way or another. I'm not saying you should do Facebook ads. It's a bit of an advanced strategy. I'm showing you how it works for me, how you can begin to see that it's actually quite doable depending on what strategy you choose. It works the same way. If you're, let's say, speaking locally, you speak, you invite people to a free session, and a portion of those free sessions become clients. Or you replace the speaking or Facebook ads with another strategy that is suited to you. But here's the clincher. I do all this in about 25 hours a week, right? And I think that's important to share, and I want to break down the hours because, again, 70% of my clients are parents. They don't have like unlimited time to work like 10-hour days. So this is how I do the 24-hour-a-week thing. I do about 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday during school hours. So this is between drop-off and pick-up with schools. I batch my time during those hours, which basically means like I combine like activities together and I chunk them down. And for example, my marketing is done in little blocks of time. My coaching sessions are done in set times, my admin time, my creative time. I just put them in blocks of time. That way I'm not always starting and stopping and doing a bunch of different things, and it makes me feel crazy, scattered. I don't do well that way, and I don't find a lot of people do. Of course, I always take what I feel into consideration, but generally, this is how it goes. And then there's the 7 weeks time off. Like literally, I just sat down and I added up, what do I take off? I'm not taking 7 weeks. I'm not traveling the world, you know, on a yacht or anything like that. I'm talking major holidays, Christmas time. My kids have breaks, spring, winter, and so on. I take those. We go on a vacation in the Adirondacks. We don't do anything crazy. But it's important to me. Like, for example, I want to be able to take off my mom's birthday because she's getting older. And that's, again, part of my definition of true wealth. Very important to note, because I have people in programs, when I take this time off, I'm not making money. I don't take a hit. A lot of practitioners are struggling with taking time off because then they don't get paid. So here's another thing I do. I block off the monthly time. The last week of every month, I don't do any client schedules. I just work on my business, or I do the things that my life needs me to do, like take my kids to their well checks or get my car fixed, or sometimes I'm just puttering around, but most of the time I'm working, but just really having creative block time to just move things forward. And to me, that's what's interesting, you know, the behind the scenes of this is that I'm not crazy busy. My life is full and engaging, but I think when I look for mentors, I'm looking for people that aren't working a million hours a week. I think that's important to share, especially if you're a parent. So how this works for you, let's bring it back to you, right? I'm going to bring this back to you, and I'm going to bring it back to how Jessica pulled this all together too, so you can have a couple of variety examples, and then we'll wrap up here. You want to first start off with one message, one audience, one offer, right? The integration of all the things that you do. You pick one marketing strategy, and you invite the destination of that is your free session. And let's say you don't want 5 clients, 3 clients, 2 or 3 clients is plenty for you. At 3,000, that's 9,000 per month. That's about 12 free sessions per month. 3 per week equals 3 new clients. I'm going to do the 100K breakdown, just because that's a lot of times people are very interested in that. 3 clients per month at $3,000 equals $108,000 a year. Okay. I just give an example as a 6-month program. If you had 9 paying clients per week in a 6-month program, that's 2 or 3 client days per week. Okay, that's plenty of time. Maximum 3 days of clients. The rest of the time you're managing your practice. Versus kind of the common take $300 per client or per session, and then you have to do 33 of these sessions, and that's kind of exhausting. So for Jess, putting it all together, she had one message, new moms, and solving that panic phase of their life when they have a new baby. She chose one marketing strategy. She did something wonderful with local networking with practitioners and one destination. So she's only having consultations with people who are considering joining her practice or local practitioners who are considering referring her. That's it. That's her one job outside of taking care of her clients. And then, yes, she was able to move out, build her dream home, and has a waiting list at the time when she has 140 people in her practice. No, she has a membership practice. So that was her offer, the offer being a member of her practice. When you have direct care, it's a little bit different than, an HMO type thing. This is her kitchen, right? Not the lifestyles of rich and famous, but I shared this because, that's what it was about for her. That's what made her happy outside of her care of her practice. And this is, I love this picture. I used to do these in-person retreats with my clients, and she was at one of them, and we had this chalkboard all the way around the room, and so everybody got up and shared some of their progress. And I also want to show you what it looks like for someone who's brand new in business, okay? This is Ruth Ann Reedfall, beautiful lady out in Texas here, and she came to me, and she had a lot of different offers, cleanses and supplements and all these different health food store tours. And so what we did was we put everything together under one message. And also she was leaving a second career. She was a successful IT expert, leaving corporate life, and she really had to make this go. Like she was supporting herself. She didn't have a backup plan. And a lot of times people's message are like right under them, like they can't even see it. And so we ended up focusing her on, losing up to 5 dress sizes by healing her hormones, your hormones, and addressing these underlying hormonal issues. That's what she did for herself. And we ended up going for one audience, which was women in technology, which is a very unique group of women that she understands and knows how to reach. And these women all get together. You can find them in groups. And so her destination was quite simple, just having a consultation with her. And the next inquiry into a client, she offered her new program that was a start to finish experience instead of a mishmash of a variety of services, and they paid in full for this $3,000 offer. And it was all automated in terms of like the process of getting people to have a session with her in a very simple, elegant way. So that's a brand new person, leveraging her stories and experience and her background, from Jess, who had lots of experience, to Ruth Ann, who's brand new. So this is ultimately the happy little practice method. It's about happy. You and your family's needs and desires must be part of your practice to be sustainable. Little, it's embracing that boutique business model to make small really work. And then the practice is about staying focused, choosing marketing that's replicable and simple for you to really be consistent with. And the challenge around this is quite simple. You got to get every piece right. So, yeah, there it is. So today I promised you these things, right? I introduced the happy little practice method. I shared the 5 shifts that you can begin to consider making to create the money, time, and satisfaction you want with less than full-time hours. And I clarified how focusing and going little is a fantastic alternative to chasing big, especially if you're tired of hearing that stuff. And now you have a choice. You can choose to focus and go little to create that level of clarity in your practice and the kind of results that you want, or you can hope, right? I'm more than happy to help you with this if you want a free session and you want to talk about it. And yes, it's free. And here's why I do it. I'm being fully transparent. It's what I'm good at. It's who I work with. You are my tribe, and it's also how I fill my client roster. So if you want help, this is what I will do in that session, is that we'll clarify your message and your audience. And if you already have your message and audience, we can work on your offer, okay? So you get a taste of what it's like to have me on your side. And if it makes sense, we can talk about working together or not. And normally I charge for this, but it's absolutely free. Like I said, it's just my way of giving you an experience of what I do, and then if it's a fit, we can talk about working together. So here's the deal, is you have to have a real business. It can't be like a hobby business. You have to have some client experience, and you have to be ready to want to move towards that. You can transition towards that $3,000 price point, but at least have that in mind, even if it's a year from now. And you have to be sharp, coachable, and willing to focus differently than a lot of your colleagues. Most of my friends and colleagues that they're surrounded by people that do the work that they do, but they feel alone in that process. So if this little boutique business model makes sense to you, you can follow through and you can laugh at my jokes, then great. And you're ready, you can apply for a session. Here's that link, happylittlepractice.com/session. And then also, that's where you can go get the book. And you don't have to have a session with me by any means, no. But go get the book there for sure. You just scroll down to the end of that page, that's where it is. And of course, there's instructions there for you to choose a time to connect with me if you want to do that. And then now we'll do some Q&A if there are any, Paula.
All right, thank you,
back
Karin.
to you.
Right, thank you. Yes, a couple things. One, the reflections here are coming in about, for the doctor who's working with new moms, it doesn't seem that you're addressing just one problem. It's like one mom, new moms is the focus, but they could need anything. The mom could need help, the baby could need help. It's just not wellness checks, right? I mean, she's doing full medical. Anything the baby needs, anything that arises for the baby, and maybe the mom has weight issues or headaches or candida or any number of things that she's facing that comes up with this. She's still a full doc, right?
Oh yeah, she's actually a full doctor. But the distinction to get is, yeah, you could be a medical doctor and choose to focus on candida. Mm-hmm. She's focused on women who are about to have a baby, are pregnant, or just had a baby and they absolutely need a physician that is holistic. They want one that's holistic and also conventional. And once that's who should get, that's the presenting challenge that gets you into her practice. Mm-hmm. These are the people that act like a segment of a population that are looking under these conditions. It's different than saying, I work with people and I'm going to do only candida. Once they're in her practice, of course, she's a full service doctor.
Okay.
For example, right. I'll give you another example.
The focus is key here. She focuses on single moms is the issue, but anything that comes up and the needs for those single moms and their babies would be addressed.
Well, new moms, right? And
yes.
Here's another distinction is like, for example, I know a lot of things in marketing, but I don't promise to deliver everything I know on the front end, because everything I know would be like, I get lost in the crowd trying to express everything I know about marketing. So I pick one thing that is the first thing that my clients have to get done before anything else gets done, which is this whole thing that we talked about today, right? Their message, their audience. So the first get people in the door thing is, what's the first problem that they need solved? And then you can do another offer at the end, which is like they continue in your practice doing deeper, broader work.
Okay. Okay, and so for the marketing strategy webinar free session, invite clients, do you feel like their experience with you in a free session is what cinches the deal? They've met you in the webinar, so there's some connectivity, there's reason to connect. They connected and so decided to make a session, and then in the session they find the value, or they feel the value of it and sign up for sessions then.
Yeah,
at $3,000 a month, right?
Yeah, in that session, there's no real song and dance. It's really like, let me get to work with you on your practice. And I'm not able to solve everything in their practice in an hour, and none of you would be able to solve everything, but it's enough for people to have a taste of what it's like to have you on their side. And then you map out in that session, like, here's what we would do going forward if we would continue.
Sure.
And so then they know they have a plan.
How long is the free webinar and how long is the free session?
Webinar, about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Session, about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that's it. Like you've gotten 2 hours of my time, and that should be plenty enough to decide if you want to work with me or not. And if you're not ready, that's okay.
Yes.
You know?
And working with you would be at an hour at a time, usually a session?
No, it's a start to finish experience. So I'm like, from that free session, I'm explaining, like, if it makes sense, like I've given them an experience in that session of what it might like be to work with me. Then to continue working with me, they're going to sign up for a program.
Okay.
A start to finish experience that's going to solve a problem.
Okay.
That way they know where they're ending. It's not just like, well, hopefully they'll come back for another session and hopefully you can do your work.
Okay. Well, I want to come back to this full program for a minute, but first, I want you to explain how you manage, if you would have 5 to 20 people that from the webinar and the free session with you said that they wanted to do, well, first, how do you manage 5 to 20 free sessions that comes up from a free webinar, and say 5 of those people would want to come on to a client? And so then the next question is, what's involved in your programs and how much time do you spend start to finish? How do you know you're finished? And what if somebody takes 10 times longer to finish than somebody else?
Yeah, all these parameters are handled. For example, I'll speak to my practice. Like, I have open enrollment, means like anybody can start at any time, just like I'm assuming most people have. And then from there, a lot of times clients aren't, like, they will book, they will reserve their time in my schedule up to 60 days, 90 days in advance. A lot of times, like last month, 3 people signed up. You know, I get 3 to 5 people to sign up a month into my work. Most 3 of them signed up for later in the summer. So it like staggers itself. And if I get really like a bunch of people, like I have control over like how many. If I have enough, like I'm feeling really full or a little bit busy, then I stagger them for like, great, I can start you in 60 days or whatever, and I give them something in between them. But it doesn't really happen very often. And I also have, like, because I have a streamlined process of what it's like to work with me, like, then I know what they need to do and what they're going to do, and knows whatever the amount of time that you decide is in your program. I'm not sure if I'm answering that question. So on one end, like, they don't always all start at the same time.
Okay.
I have control over deciding whether I take them on or not. And if I don't have to, just because 8 people signed up doesn't mean I'm going to have to do 8 sessions in the week. Okay. It's all, like, I have a calendar where I can control my calendar.
Okay. All right, great, thanks.
Full control of all those pieces. So nothing feels,
it's all the things
really
you think about, though, you know. It's like all of a sudden you went from little to, oh my gosh, I'm big, right?
I've had, like, I also know, like, my personal preferences. I've, like, taken 8 clients in a week and it's been fine for me. But on average, I like, you know, about 3 to 5 coming in. And it depends. Like, if I'm doing a little bit more speaking, I will only take 3 that month.
Sure.
But it's all like, you have complete control over those kinds of boundaries.
Okay. There's a great comment here of having you come back and do a demonstration what a full program would look like.
Yeah, like you and I were talking about, like, let's do something on, like, well, how do you create a program and what does that look like?
Yes. Yes. Because, you know, the questions come in just are really begging it. It's like, you know, it's like, this is really high level. How could we implement anything like this? A 3,000 health counseling client would potentially chew up a lot of our time, and how could we possibly do 5 a month, right?
Oh, whoa. just because it's more money doesn't mean it requires more time. Because you're offering a solution, not like it's really you're separate. You're starting to kind of evolve past, like, in order for me to be paid X amount, I must give them X amount of time. People actually don't really care. They care that this problem is solved in an adequate, high quality manner, right? And as you get better and better, like, you can, like, I could never have diagnosed, quote unquote, somebody's message in under an hour, I don't know, 10 years ago. I would have had to spend the whole day with them because that's, I was starting out.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm better. Like we all get better and better. And so like, should I be paid less because it takes me less time to get to the heart of the matter?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, I'd say your skill level is better, so you can raise your rates.
But it's also like, I'm not charging by the hour. I'm really charging, like, is it a fair and like enough to get somebody's attention? Because I want their skin in the game. To charge by the value, the impact of your work. And you start to look at like beyond, like, for example, in health, like that there's immediate health and body changes, but it's the ripple effect of their career, their finances, their relationships, saving time at the doctor's office, all that stuff.
Right. Yes, but you must be able to demonstrate for somebody to put up $3,000 start to finish to be able to explain to them what that means, what they'll get in a start to finish.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So what you do in that free session, in addition to like giving them an experience of what you do, is that you're also mapping out exactly what will happen and what you're going to cover, and all those pieces. There's a bit of an art and a bit of a science to like, okay, how do you have that conversation? For sure.
So then for your free webinar, do you change the content of the webinar material?
It depends. Like, this is my signature talk, and I drive everything to this because like this is the first decision. Like, before you want to work with someone, with me in particular, you'd have to you have to get on board with small.
Sure. And
doing small the right way. So that's the first, yes, okay.
And you're figuring that anybody that's coming is new, so it's not, you're not somebody come again.
I will say this, that many of the people that I work with will have watched the webinar multiple times.
Okay.
Because it's like, so like before someone can say yes to your service, like what's the first thing that what's the first shift that needs to happen? Like there's a lot of people talking about, like, for example, for me, like there's a lot of people talking about marketing, but not talking about it through the lens of, okay, limited hours and we're going to do it small and yet still have it be profitable, and blah, 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 right? And there's a lot of people talking about health, but what is the lens that you see it through that might make it unique and one of a kind experience? And also, a lot of my colleagues are unavailable for this one-on-one stuff, and I still choose to. So that makes it about, like you have to look at what you have and what you're bringing to the table and what makes it so valuable for people. I have to say, like, a lot of times people say to me, I really wanted to talk to a real person. I've been in all the big programs. I'm like, you have, like, even if you're just starting out, the fact that you're available to offer that high quality attention is so valuable.
Absolutely. Well, when you say that you charge $3,000 a month, how long do clients usually stay on?
I'm not charging by the month. I charge by the, and I don't teach that. Like, you're not charging by the month or by the hour. You're charging for the experience or the result that you're offering.
And so might that take longer for some than others?
It depends. Generally, what I really advise people to do is not in that first offer. Like, you generally want like a front end offer, like the things that people are going to come in through the front door. And it's not everything but it's enough to have people to give a significant result.
Yeah.
And once that's solved, there's usually a second problem that follows. Like the next natural yearning, like, okay, maybe they resolve, I'm going to make something up. Like maybe they resolved a significant hormonal issue. Well, the next part is that's resolved, and maybe they have all this new energy, and all of a sudden they're like, how do I even live like this? I no longer have this health problem. And maybe that's where your life coaching skills comes in, and you offer this other program where, like, okay, now we're gonna do this other thing. I'm making something up, but
okay.
You get the idea. You can do more, but you don't charge by the month or by the hour. It's for result. You're chunking down all the things that you do into, I want to say almost modules, but like results.
Yes. But certainly a client would want it's like, am I going to meet with you 12 times or 5 times
Oh,
to
yeah.
accomplish this?
Well, here's the thing. Before you can even think about the program, what happens is I love all these questions because people immediately go to like, well, how is the program? Is it like 12 sessions? Is it 90 days? And like that stuff doesn't really matter. What first comes is like, who are you going to work with and what's the problem that you're solving? Then the offer becomes quite clear. For example, one of my clients is a dressage writer, and she works with working with people in their mental performance in the arena. Mm-hmm. And so she takes people through, like the first phase is really getting through the specific result, calm and confident under pressure. But after that, there's all these other things like, okay, being ready and on call for performances, competitions and stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 phases of the development of mental performance. And so she just broke down her program into 2 phases. And so she has one program and then she has another.
Okay.
But before you can go to like, is it 12 sessions or is it 90 days or is it 6 months? It doesn't matter. It depends on what's the result that you want to offer and to whom. And then that informs the style of program and what you're going to cover in that program. Because we don't have to cover everything in that first program.
Okay. And do you work with your clients in person or online, both?
For me, I am on the phone with people only because, again, I live in the sticks.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. It's up to you. Like, it doesn't matter, that kind of stuff.
Okay. And for your webinars, do you use anyone in particular or service to create the webinar?
They're all good. I use Webinar Jam. There's many others, but that's what I use.
Yeah, we're on GoToWebinar here, so yes.
Right. Yeah, and that's great for all like the corporations and stuff.
Yeah. So there's feedback on this being really helpful, excellent presentation. And we'll do more of an example of a program. We'll come back and do that. It's worthy and it deserves it following this up. But do you think that someone could do a signature program focused around removing sugar from the diet? That would be the first focus.
It can, but only if you tie it to. So remember this part. Like, people outside of the health and wellness industry aren't necessarily interested in health and wellness on its own. They're interested into how it impacts their life. So, like, if you tie it to diabetes and, getting off insulin or something, or if you tie it to, like, because you're in your 40s and somehow all of a sudden sugars, I'm in my 40s, and all of a sudden, like, what? I can't really eat sugar anymore. Like, I don't know what happened, right? Like, and it's affecting my personal performance, my ability to be a good mom if I eat too much of it. Like, if you tie it to something that's really valuable for a specific group of people, because sugar in and of itself, no one really cares unless you're a health coach.
Yeah.
Like, you care when it's affecting something that you really value, and different groups. Like, if it's a small business owner, like you're focusing on, and maybe they're feeling fuzzy and their mental game is off and they can't think clearly, then you tie the getting off sugar for small business owners because, productivity and performance and getting home and having energy to play with your family.
Right.
Like, you have to tie it to something that's important to somebody else.
Yeah. Okay. Great point. We have time for a couple more questions. The question about the calendar what program do you use for your calendar for booking clients?
There's so many ones that are good. My 2 favorite ones right now is Acuity, ACUITY, and I like Square appointments too. I recommend my clients use Acuity because we set them up with remember I talked in the webinar, like, all marketing leads to one destination, which is having a conversation with people. And because you're a solo practitioner like I am, you need to have that automated. So Even if you just go see the link for the Happy Little Practice free session, all roads lead to that, and it's an application. And, so that way I'm not just giving away like free sessions to everybody. I have like standards.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why I use it in that way. And Acuity allows you to have an application process built into that system, which I really like.
Great. Thank you. Do you include lab testing and supplements in your programs?
Well, I'm a marketing person, so that'd be really weird. So
just say if you're working with coaching clients on their health issues. So yes,
I don't do it. I don't do the health stuff anymore.
Okay.
I just do the marketing and the business stuff. But my clients do, like, yeah. So
Okay.
it depends on the practitioner. Some people it's like extra, and some people they include it. It's
Okay.
And if you include it, then you got to build it into your pricing.
Okay. So last two questions. How would you find a client who can spend $3,000 on a program? Is there a target audience? Do you promote your Facebook ads to wealthier communities? She lives in a rural area, and that price would be very hard for people there.
Yeah. So you don't start with how do I find them? You got to first answer what's your message and for whom. That actually, like, you don't even get to like where do I find them until you answer those two questions. And part of that is like choosing a target market that or a tribe or an ideal client group that $3,000 is doable.
Okay.
And I live in a rural community, and so I don't really have local clients unless I'm willing to drive at least an hour.
Right.
To more kind of metropolitan areas. And listen, like, there's other people. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay.
Get yourself, here's the bigger picture. Get yourself taken care of, so that way then you can have teams, you can create a home study course. You can create books that people can afford, and you can give them to the library. Do you know what I mean? You can do a workshop, but you can't do that stuff from the start because they take a long time to build up.
Yeah.
Okay. Fill up your private practice with clients who can afford you, and then you can go and do the stuff that people who can't afford that.
Okay. So last question, how do you determine success? What are your outcome measures?
Well, I think that's for everyone to decide. That I think that's a big part of what I had to figure out. Like until you actually have to rub up against like, well, if what quote unquote they say, for me, success has to be like, I have to make a certain amount of money, and I need to feel free and I have some time. Like I could work 40 hours a week, but I don't want to have childcare before and after school. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, like, that's part of my success if I can be there with my kids, even though sometimes they drive me crazy. Mm-hmm. So like, I think that's a really personal thing. You need to decide like how much you need beyond the basics, and you need to to live well, so that way you can really model wellness, and then all the other things. But I also think it's also like a feeling, because on paper things can look like a success, but it feels like,
I think you started out with, the parameters that were, the number one was being happy. And then if you're kind of miserable, I don't think you're achieving it.
It is, because a lot of things, we're supposed to feel happy about a lot of different things. And I'm like, it turns out, like, I was thrilled to realize that I did not need $1 million business to have all the things that would be really great for me to have. That would make me happy. Like, oh, you know what? I actually don't really need a bigger house, but I really would love to be able to one day be able to spend not just 1 week at the lake, but maybe 2 months. Okay, that's a dream that I'd like to go for. Okay, so but you start with 1 week, perhaps.
Got it. Yes. Okay.
But like,
so we'll talk more about success and outcome measures when we return with full program planning. Build that.
Yeah, that would be fun. Because then we can really break that down and be like, okay, what is the program? How do you put one together?
Yeah.
And the mindset things around that.
Okay, great. Good. Thank you very much. We'll return for that, and we're way over time, so I'm going to pull this into a wrap for now. I want to
Good.
remind everybody that the webinar was recorded. It'll be available on Hawthorn's website under archived webinars in just a few days. And if you want to learn more about Hawthorn and our programs, you certainly visit our website, and Kathy McDermott is our Director of Admissions and available to talk with you in her business hours time. So give her a call. And there's a survey to fill out after the webinar ends. It's short and it helps us to have your feedback and comments. So I hope you'll pay attention to that. And I invite you to join us for our next webinar on Tuesday, June 20th. It's led by Jonathan Posey. And the focus is grassroots advocacy workshop, getting involved in public policy. And as I started out with tonight, we're going to do a string of business building related webinars coming up for the rest of the year. So building businesses, legal aspects of our business, and here Jonathan Posey is going to come in with an advocacy workshop and just saying how important it is to know what public policy is and how it affects us. You know, in California, we're facing yet again about the 30th attempt to eliminate supplements. And naturopathic medicine, and you know, the nutrition professionals are always targeted here. So we have to pay attention and be mindful and keep ourselves viable, and we've been able to do that because we've been active. So join us for that. That's Tuesday, June 20th. Jonathan Posey. We'll start a few minutes early just to get ourselves settled, and tomorrow's all about alumni with Karin Roth. So that's June 6th at noon Pacific time, and that's about it. It concludes today's presentation. So I want to thank you again, Karin. You offered us a lot. And thank you, everybody, for joining in. You bet, Karin. And we'll have you back for sure. So join us for our upcoming webinars and All About Alumni series. We'll stay connected and talking and chatting and keep learning along the way together. So our last webinar was May 16th, and we had Dr. Liz Lipsky returned to Hawthorn to present on diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and the microbiome. Liz presented some new research on the gut microbiome and really indicating that the key to blood sugar, cardiovascular health, and weight management begins in the gut. So I hope you check it out. It was a really fine presentation. It's in our archived webinars now. And our All About Alumni series is an online event. It's where we get the opportunity to showcase our graduates. It's an interview style presentation. We air noon at Pacific time on the first Wednesday of each month. So that means you can tune in with us live tomorrow on Wednesday, June 7th, and hear from our MSHN graduate, Karin Roth, as she shares about her journey. Also, we always get these questions. Are you recording this? And yes, we always record because we value we value the information that we present here. So all of our webinars, as well as our All About Alumni live events, are recorded. We're recording this one today too, so you'll be able to access them from our website anytime under archived webinars. And as always, there's a little survey for you to complete after the webinar. It's an opportunity for you to give us feedback on this presentation. Let us know what you'd like to learn more about in upcoming presentations. So I think that's it for my news and thoughts like that right now. So, you know, one other thing is, you know, there's an organization, National Association of Nutrition Professionals, and I encourage you to familiarize yourself with them if you aren't already. They're the only organization that supports and oversee holistic practitioners all through the country, and they're international at this point. And certainly they have reviewed all of Hawthorn's courses and programs and have approved them. And graduates from most of our programs, certificate and degrees, are qualified to sit for their national board certifying exam. So as a graduate of Hawthorn program, you can sit for their exam and have an additional credential of being board certified in holistic nutrition. They just had a conference up in Portland this earlier in the month, and all of their recordings will be available from their website, namp.org. So check them out and all they have to offer. They're militant about the politics concerning holistic health and nutrition, and keeping us safe and viable and able to practice. So, worthy organization to check out.